PixelArts or C/PixelArts props.
Okay.
YouTube.com/C PixelArts props.
Yay.
Burrito.
See, now I want a burrito. I hope you're happy.
Yes, I am very happy.
That's probably me and Steve's main plan on Halloween is to go get sale burritos from Chipotle. Because if you go in a costume, it's like $5 for a full burrito.
Oh, really?
Which is like, that's easy.
I have so many.
Literally. Like, you can come in a mask and they're like, you're a costume. Here you go, you know. And then I forget what it is. It's if you come in dressed as a burrito, it's some extra discount. My God. So that's people go to Halloween on Halloween
Deadpool dressed in a burrito.
That would be amazing.
That is a costume in a costume.
I would 100% do that. I mean, if I had a small person, I would 100% just wrap them in foil and be like, it's a burrito. That's 100% amazing. Oh, we're talking. Hi!
Second episode, so that's Cheyenne.
Hi!
That's Paul. And
so many cameras.
There is Trisha.
Is our producer director Trisha?
Yay!
There's Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Photographer, assistant, grip. I don't know. She's doing all the kind of stuff.
She's a grip. Don't touch any of her stuff.
There's all of our equipment right now.
So much. Cool. It's real fancy.
About to go live.
Second episode. Only 1 hour late, so that's pretty good. All right. Watch the live stream if you want. Link is in the description. Otherwise,
it'll be up on the places. Yay!
All right, so you're getting your spot. Take your drink in your drink.
We're all really drinking.
I totally should have gotten something.
So they posed completely and you did that. All right, pose.
I'll have a scotch. I'm starving.
Almost. It's perfect. It's fine.
Okay.
Great.
I'll take
You know
it.
me, I'm a shaky person.
I'll take perfect.
It's pretty fast right now, so.
Okay, so we're gonna
We'll see how fast it actually is after.
We're gonna start with Star Trek, go to LACC, then go to Black Panther, then video games.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Okay.
But we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you just fine, and the stream can hear you too.
Yeah.
Okay, and uno, dos. Hey, and welcome to Guy in the Chair. I'm your host, Paul Rydberg, also known as Hal Rydberg. Next to me is
Cheyenne Jaz Wise, aka Mistress of the Dork.
And on my other side is
Richard Mathis, aka the guy from Dorkside Cookies.
He's actually the guy in the chair. We got a couple really fun topics for you tonight, kind of a serious topic as well. We're going to start with Star Trek Discovery. I am a hardcore Star Trek fan, so my feelings on this are pretty solid. They're pretty serious.
Whereas my Trek experience is a couple of episodes of The Next Generation on the BBC. I don't dislike it. It's just one of those things I haven't had a chance to get to.
It's fair.
I'm like, I could start with this, or I could rewatch Buffy again.
There's
Buffy
only like
wins.
150 plus episodes of Star Trek related shows. I mean, come on, Cheyenne.
It's a day binge.
I mean, 150 plus episodes per season.
And movies.
Six seasons plus cartoons and
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. So Discovery, I don't know about you guys. I saw the double episode the night it came out, and then for the first time in my 43 years, I absolutely did not want to watch another episode of it.
Huh.
Like I caught up with it in the last couple of days because I've finally broken down and like, well, it's the only new Star Trek I can get my hands on. I guess very Stockholm Syndrome wise, I'm going to sit down and watch some of this stuff. But I was disappointed for a very, very particular reason. But my impressions of the first episode was that the art design was amazing.
Oh, totally.
And the acting was off the charts. Like they're great cast. Doug Jones is amazing.
Doug Jones is amazing in everything.
He's an excellent successor to Brent Spiner, as far as like the strange alien on the bridge. And Michelle Yeoh, I'm really sad that you only get like 2 episodes of Michelle Yeoh as the captain, because she'd give Kate Mulgrew a run for her money as like the badass female captain. And the idea that the focal point of this particular series is a non-captain, non-bridge crew character is even more fun. I mean, they kind of sold it early on as like we were going to do this below decks, but you're essentially back on the bridge by the time you get to senior Malfoy in the captain's chair. But yeah, what did you guys think? Like, how did you?
I mean, again, my like, it's one of those things. I know things about Star Trek because I'm so immersed in like nerd culture stuff, but I'm not somebody who's watched a lot of Star Trek. I'm not somebody who's into Star Trek like that. And as somebody who went in without any baggage, really, I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
I really, now granted, I'm probably biased just because it was so cool to see something like that, to see a show like Star Trek with a black woman as a main character, as a black woman. In case those of you are wondering what this ambiguous colored person over here is, I was a clown last week, but doesn't matter. But like from a representation standpoint, that's been super cool. I think she's a really interesting character. I mean, again, from the little bits of Star Trek stuff I've seen, she's kind of very different in terms of the protagonist. And I really like that it's like this sort of very multiculturalist theme of like the villains are these isolationists. And again, from what I know about Star Trek, that's when it's at its best, when it's like getting right up into sort of political left of center futurism stuff. So that feels very authentic to what I know of the franchise, which again is not that much. And again, it's probably because I went in without all of everything behind it. I thought it was like as like a cool space show thing. I'm really enjoying it.
So I did not watch it opening night because I had read so much that convinced me that I was not going to like it. And then I watched it, and when I watch something, this is my rule. I don't want to think about anything that I know from outside of the show. It's my rule. I don't want, no matter what, that doesn't matter. I watched the show, and when I watched it, I was watching the show, period. I was not thinking about anything.
So that it carries itself on its own merit.
Exactly.
Okay.
And on its own merits, I thought it was amazing. I was actually a little disappointed I had not watched it when the first day it was out.
Like streaming.
And then I was like, okay, watch the first 2 episodes. Amazing. I'm on board for all the reasons that you said. It feels like our world, the way it would go into a Federation Star Trek type thing. And everybody that are like hardcore Trekkies had convinced me I shouldn't like it because Roddenberry had this like idealistic vision, but the time period that it is, before they've solved every possible problem in like say Next Generation, I'm on board. I really feel like it feels right for the time period to me.
Okay.
How gritty it is and how kind of miserable a lot of people are. and that might not be Star Trek, and it's definitely not classic Star Trek, but they're miserable, and that feels real to me. Like real world.
As far as Star Trek fans go, like I'm not necessarily center of the road Star Trek fan. Like I really enjoy The Next Generation, but it's not for me the top of the pantheon for Star Trek. Like I truly enjoy the movies above pretty much everything.
Okay.
Like 2, 3, 4 are like they're great. Nicholas Meyer's the most brilliant writer ever. I thought Star Trek 6 was perfect way to cap off the original Kirk, Spock, McCoy Enterprise run. The Next Generation movies were all really well done. I thought it was a great way to cap off the Borg in First Contact. There is a rumor floating around. I would love to find somebody that could give me the solid on this particular rumor, because I attend Star Trek Con just about every year. This year, actually, I got a textbook on how to make movies from Nicholas Meyer's wife. He wrote an entire textbook about how to make movies in Hollywood, and he uses Star Trek Insurrection as the template, like the back and forth he had to do with the stars and the studio and polishing the script. It's a really good book.
That's really cool.
And I tried to get the skinny from his wife, but of course she's not Nicholas, and Nicholas isn't with us anymore. So I'm told that Brent Spiner was told during First Contact, when they filmed First Contact, hey, at the end of this, the Borg will have essentially have given you a whole body, and to defeat the Borg, you're going to break the tube, and you're going to die because you have a human body, and the Borg are going to die because they rely on human parts.
Okay.
And Brent Spiner was like, I'm not doing this movie if you're going to kill me. So they dialed it back, and he had like patchwork Sally looking self by the end of the movie. So they came back for Insurrection, which is the one where like he's on the planet and they've got the duck blind thing and they're supervising people.
And just to clarify, Brent Spiner is the guy who's the principal on Buffy. No, okay, I'm thinking of somebody else. Okay. This is why
so he's an android, and he was the alien on the bridge, at least the most prominent alien. I mean, we had Worf but Data was primary alien on the bridge. Came back for Insurrection. It was going to be an Old Yeller story. Essentially, Captain Picard was going to find out that something went wrong with Data on this survey mission, and Captain Picard had to go out and put down Data. And apparently, Spiner came back and read the script and was like, if you're going to kill me, I'm not coming back. Like, you can put somebody else in. You can write me out. I'm not going to come back. And when they did the last one, Nemesis, they didn't. He was like, if we write you out, you'll never get a chance to come back. Like, this is the last movie. Like, we're gonna have to kill you at the end of the movie. Like, we've been trying to do this for movies. So they finally let him kill him. And if you watch his Twitter, he's super bitter about it.
Yeah.
Like, it comes up on his Twitter all the time. Like, oh, I wouldn't know because they killed me off. But like the movies have always been like the top of the rung for me. The second rung for me as a Star Trek fan has always been Enterprise, like Jonathan Archer.
Oh man, Enterprise was good.
I loved it. Like I thought Scott Bakula, he was the guy from Quantum Leap.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was amazing as a captain. And to have T'Pol, and if you don't know your Star Trek lore, like T'Pol interacts with a lot with Spock when you get to the movies. Like T'Pol is the one overseeing the temple when Spock gets his Katra back. Like they tied it in well, and it didn't feel as gritty and miserable as Discovery does. Like, but Discovery is meant to be below decks. You're not keeping up with the bridge crew. You don't know the ops person or the comm person or the communications person. You know the captain, and you know Michael Burnham, who is technically not supposed to be on the bridge. He's a mutineer.
That's true.
So, like, it didn't feel as gritty. But that again, that's not my gripe either. Like, I really like
it. Prior to the war, anyways, right? Enterprise kind of leads up to the point.
Yeah, it leads up to the Klingon War.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
which is before the original series, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay, I did. I looked it up, but
they're still explorers at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not warriors.
And even then, in the original series, the James Kirk series that I grew up on, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, watching reruns on television, the Jim Kirk series, they were always trying to put their foot forward as an explorer. Like, yes, they are in a cruiser. It has weapons, but they are explorers. So to go into a series where it's really heavily war-based, I mean, Deep Space Nine touched on it for a little while. They gave you a taste of the Dominion War, and even then, it was more like General Hospital in space. It wasn't really like Star Trek in space.
Well, that's how it started.
Yeah.
But by the middle to the end, it was like episode after episode after episode of big giant fleets of ships and blowing up and everything.
Yeah.
It was, and that's why a lot of people that are not maybe as big of Trekkies as Javier, they like Deep Space Nine more than any other series.
Yeah, it really fed to the masses in a way that I wasn't really like. So as the Star Treks came out, like the original Star Trek, tragic interaction with me with William Shatner, then Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it was kind of exploring, and I really liked it because it's feeding my Star Trek love, but it always felt like they were back on Earth and back with the Federation too often. It didn't really feel like we were really exploring. It felt like
Next
like,
Generation.
It constantly like there's bugs infiltrating Starfleet. We got to go to this star space. We got to go to that star. Like it didn't feel nearly enough like we were just out exploring. And then Deep Space Nine, I like to refer to it as General Hospital in space. You didn't have nearly enough flying around, and then suddenly you had fleets of capital ships blowing each other up. And then you got to Voyager, which I really fell in love with. Like, there's no Federation. Like, I finally got the original series feel back. Like, it's always a new problem. It's always a new planet. We're not leaning heavily on the Federation for everything. And there's a couple really cool episodes with like the Equinox and I forget what the multi-vector attack ship is, but and then they did Enterprise, and of course I fell in love with the idea of explorers for the sake of exploring, and then they did that Xindi War thing that was terrible. Like, in case you're not sensing a theme here, like I really enjoy Star Trek when it's about exploring, when it's about finding new planets and going where no person has gone before, blah blah blah. But when they start dipping into that we're back on Earth and we're trying to solve Earth's problems again, it doesn't really feel like Star Trek. And I've really gotten like way off the rails here. Bring it way back to Discovery.
So you buried the lead. Why do you not like?
I'm going to end up watching all of Discovery because as a prop maker and as a costume maker, they knocked it out of the park.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
the new uniforms are gorgeous.
All of the art direction and all of the art creation is great. But where I have a really hard time is, and I'm going to draw an analogy with the show, actually. Michael Burnham can't be a first officer again, even if she did something amazing, because Michael Burnham is tainted by mutiny.
Makes sense.
Yeah? Okay. So I'm about to say words that are going to make a lot of Star Trek fans out there really upset. I followed Prelude to Axar and the pre-make of Axanar, the fan-funded feature film, for literally years. I was kind of excited because they had like B-list actors from Battlestar Galactica, and then they had what's her name, the wife from the new Battlestar Galactica, and they had actors from Star Trek, and it was like
Candyman.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is this the
They
thing
had
with
Candyman.
Candyman in it you had us watch?
Yeah. So
That's what I know him as.
the story for Axar and Prelude to Axar is that it's the 4 years Klingon War before Captain Kirk. Like, one of the major plot points is they're trying to stop the Klingon expansion into Federation space, like stop the Klingon War with the Federation. And they need to hold them off long enough to get the new Constellation class cruisers up and running before the D7s are up and running. And the fight at Axar is supposed to be the D7s that end up going against the Constellations. And all of Discovery just feels like somebody sat down with that script and was like, hey, let's just do this. Let's do Axar, but let's put it on CBS and make it legit. Because Axar made so much money on crowdfunding that CBS sued the living crap out of them. That's the entire reason that you now have restrictions on making fan films in Star Trek. Star Wars, they'll provide you with the audio clips, they'll provide you with video assets. You can get Chewbacca roaring on audio straight from Lucasfilm. But CBS will not allow you to make more than 2 episodes. They can't be more than 15 minutes long. You can't do an entire series. You can't do an entire feature film. Like, all of these crazy restrictions, because Axar managed to make millions. They managed to build their own studio. They gave themselves jobs. They started making a business off of this essentially stolen IP. And I want to be really clear, because I've gotten into a couple arguments over this. I don't think that what they were doing was right. I don't think that making a fan film, you should be able to build your own studio and give yourself a full-time job.
I mean, I could see if you use that as like the jumping off point, and then that gets you other work.
But even then, like the money
that's
that you
not what
get,
happened?
the money that you get given to make a fan film has to go into that fan film, and then
Yeah,
you
that
can't
makes
make any
sense.
money from that fan film. There's a group here in town, Ismahawk. They did a really good Nightwing the series, 5 episodes.
Ooh.
They paid for it themselves. All of it is really good, a really good illustration of fan filming, and they I'm told they got a letter from Warner Brothers that they were not to monetize it and they could put it online.
Okay.
They can't make millions from this.
Which that
But we
actually
can-
does kind of make
You
sense
can.
to me.
The idea
Because-
belongs to someone else. It is not you are not actually Dick Grayson. You are not
Now,
actually.
we're not talking
Captain
about whether
Kirk.
that's right or wrong, of
Yeah,
course.
we're
Just
that's just
legally.
that's legally that's just the way it works. So Axar broke a lot of laws, a lot of rules about using other people's IP, about using other people's ideas, about trying to make money off of someone else's IP.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that as a creative myself, when I sit down to watch something new that like CBS puts together for me, the last thing I want to do is see a storyline that looks like that stolen thing I've been watching for 2 years. Like, there's so much in the Star Trek universe to explore. The end of Kirk's era and the beginning of Picard's era, there's something like 100 years gap, or like 80 or 90 years gap. Like McCoy was 150
Okay.
when they walked him on the decks of the original Enterprise the Enterprise D in the first episode of Next Generation. So there's a lot of time there to explore, and these missions are only 7 years. So there's all kinds of ships and all kinds of stuff to just explore. And instead, we're going back to the same subject matter that somebody else did in a fan film that you squashed and made a big deal about, like made a huge deal about squashing just before Star Trek Beyond came out. So like I sit down and I want to watch this and I want to love it, but every time they mention something or every time somebody does something, it's just like, oh yeah, I remember when they made a reference like that in Axanar, and that was only 20 minutes long. Like,
Let me play devil's advocate real quick, and then we can probably move on to our
Yeah.
next subject, maybe, unless Cheyenne has something to add.
I mean,
This is me playing devil's advocate. Here's the thing: for whatever reason, as much as I would love a series that goes into the future past Next Generation, which I would. I want more Romulan Warbirds. I want the Daredicks. I want all the cool stuff, the cool technology. I want them to move the universe forward. Whatever. Enterprise was set around the same timeline. The movies, they could have rebooted the franchise anywhere, but no, they chose to redo Kirk
yeah,
and the rest of them.
and make reference to Enterprise in those reboots.
So if Axanar had never come out, chances are, with Trump and with the way our politics are in this country right now and everything, they still probably would have chosen this time period because it just feels so appropriate to
yeah.
the world
That's
we're living
true.
in.
And
And it's probably better because of this fan film, right? It probably is much better because of it.
well, you've gotten a chance to kind of flesh out some ideas. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that it isn't their universe and they can't explore whatever they want. But like I said, Michael Burnham's never going to be a bridge officer again because she's tainted. Like, you can't get past that thing to see this great thing because there's always that shadow hanging over the top of it.
Isn't that the whole point, to make it miserable and gritty?
You can't get Discovery in this time period right now is like the next thing to come out without Axar floating behind it like a cloud. Like, I want to really love this. The suits are amazing. The spacesuit is, oh god,
it's super cool.
that's my goal for the next year. I got some really cool equipment coming, and I'm thinking I'm going to try to make something that freaking awesome. All of this stuff looks amazing. In fact, art department wise, there's only one thing that I was like, flip a table, I'm angry. That's not the way they do things. Like,
I hope you don't say it. I hope you don't
they brought
say
the
it.
Shenzo out, the the first ship.
Okay.
The one that Michael Burnham is actually the first officer on.
Okay.
Michelle Yeoh's ship. They fly that thing out, and the bridge is on the bottom of the saucer. In
it's
25,
supposed to be
30,
like up here, right?
Yeah, in 25, 30 years, the bridge is here, the bridge is here, the bridge is here, the bridge is here. The Shenzhou, the bridge is
like
here.
a blimp almost.
Yeah, like it's of all the things I didn't. Of all
guess
our
that's
decisions, I was
fair.
like, I don't understand what you're doing. You're breaking my brain.
See, I'm really glad that I've gone into this with no baggage because I didn't have to worry about any of this. I'm just like, oh, it's cool, space lady. Like,
Yeah, I thought you were going to complain about the little scales there that are the Starfleet.
Oh, those are screen printed on. I get to get up real close at Star Trek convention this year.
Okay.
And there's pictures on my Instagram. There's pictures on my Twitter. Those aren't actually scales. Somebody put some stretch material out and got some Starfleet chevrons cut, and they screen printed that
looks
stuff
amazing.
on. Like,
they literally
it looks
went,
so
how can
good.
we make cosplayers suffer?
Right?
That's how I feel like as cosplay becomes more and more of a thing, film
Makes it harder
designers,
and harder.
they go more and more out of their way to be like, how do we make this look like something a cosplayer couldn't have made?
Yeah, but once you
Right.
find out just a screen print,
I mean, that's not going to stop anybody at all, but
Oh,
it's
no.
like, it's them going, we're going to make this that much harder.
When I first thought, the first thought I had was like, oh my God, how are you pouring that many tiny little metal chevrons and then sticking them together? Oh God.
Like
and you're gonna
some
do
poor soul
80
is
or
gonna paint that. Like,
you're gonna do 80 or 90 costumes like this? Like, you hate someone in the costume department. But no, like of all of it, like even the costumes are amazing. The
think they're
chevrons,
beautiful.
I really like the idea that they work the ranks into the chevrons. Like, that's super cool.
don't they just look better the next generation though? Isn't it gonna be weird? Like eventually when they move forward, it's just gonna.
Yeah.
I will
I really
say,
liked the black chevron too, like the low profile, like we're special forces.
I
Black
thought they
chevron.
were beautiful. I will say the only thing, and that's just me as a retro person, I was like, I wish everybody had like more retro hair though, because
Oh yeah, like the big
before.
unicolor uniforms and like the crazy beehives.
Like
crazy
yeah,
beehives.
I'm clearly a fan. Like I would have liked that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Would you want
'cause-
the women to be wearing skirts?
not necessarily.
Because they were in the.
I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know they
Oh,
were.
yeah.
But just for it to feel a little bit more like this could turn into the,
Yeah, like
the
it
Kirk
could-
era.
yeah.
Because retro hair is super in
there's-
right now. It
there's
wouldn't be
so
hard
many-
to do.
I joke all the time when I'm laying on the couch trying to watch this thing that whoever's at the wheel of the continuity car is sound asleep.
I mean, like, I totally, like, it's a separate thing. It's much more about our time. I totally feel that.
Yeah.
But just as somebody who in real life has Betty Page hair, like, I would have liked that.
You don't want the Janice Rand like checkerboard beehive.
I mean, that would be a lot of work,
Oh
but
my God, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
I mean, this would be a lot if it was my real hair.
All right, you want to move on?
Yeah, so we'll move on to the other topic. One of the other topics we've got today. The last couple days in particular, and for at least the last 2 weeks, and I can say definitely for the last year, the topic of weapons and weapons policies at conventions has become more and more of a hot topic. I have my own personal experiences from conventions like this year's Star Wars Celebration. I attended San Diego Comic-Con, Salt Lake, lots of conventions this year. LA Comic-Con is the next one coming up, and they've chosen a pretty hard line for weapons at their convention. And at least as a prop maker, as someone who specializes in handmade, high detail hero props for cosplayers and for film and TV, I personally won't be attending LA Comic-Con, not because I'm upset that they've decided to implement some more stringent security measures, but I have a pretty strong opinion of actual security versus perceived security.
Okay.
So America in general has, for the past 10, 15, I guess almost, man, crazy, 16
Almost
years now.
16 years.
For 16 years, we've progressively done more and more and more for show security, right? We're not actually doing security. You want to know security? Look at the Israelis. They do real things. And actually those real things cost less and give more security. We just do things that are like theatrics.
As opposed to like taking your shoes off at the airport
The
and stuff
TSA.
like that.
The TSA have not,
So people want to bring dangerous things into a convention, they're going to be able to do that. But people want to bring a big, gigantic Final Fantasy foam sword that you could bludgeon someone with, probably, sure. But you couldn't really hurt more than one person before you get tackled or whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous, some of these weapons idea that they're dangerous. It's just fake theatrics.
Yeah, it's as a cosplayer, it's something that I totally would like want to feel like I am in a safe space when I am at a convention, 100%, especially because I'm a girl. A lot of the time I go by myself if my boyfriend has work or something, if I'm in something like this or Starfire. I've had like men follow me, so I 100% want to feel like there is actual... Totally. But so there's definitely, like, that is super important to me. I don't think that I would ever go to a convention that I did not feel was safe, or I didn't feel like the security guys were on it if something happened to me. Like, there was a girl at San Diego Comic-Con like 2 years ago who got murdered. Like, she literally like got separated from her group. No one knows what happened to her, but somebody probably followed her and basically killed her. So it's like, there's 100% a part of me that understands where the impulse comes from.
Oh yeah.
You know? And as somebody who most of my costuming is costume fabrication, is making things, most of my costumes, I like to think you could tell who they are without the weapon. But at the same time, if that's something that somebody has put so much work into, and it's something that's not going to harm anybody, like, there's a line. Like, I have a friend who cosplays Ash from Evil Dead. I do a version. I have a purse. No one thinks it's a real weapon. I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah.
But he found the model of chainsaw that they use in the movie. He gutted it out. He has it's like a wood blade. It's a bike chain on it. Like, the most he could do is like smack somebody. Yeah. Maybe. I've accidentally smacked people upside the head with mine. Who am I kidding?
And I can do that with a hardcover book.
Absolutely. I could probably hit somebody with this wig if I hit him the wrong way and hurt them. So it's like, on the one hand, I totally understand where the impulse is coming from as somebody who is very, maybe not paranoid at conventions, but I'm very vigilant about making sure that I'm
costume
in a safe situation. Absolutely. You know, like, I cosplay as like 80 Starfire. That's things that like have potentially could have escalated had like my friends not been there or had security not been watching. Like, but weapons themselves have never been my issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But really, if there's anything that security needs to be on, it's people who do not respect cosplayers' physical space, male or female.
Oh yeah.
Because male cosplayers get a lot of that too.
One of my primary complaints at this point about security is that I have a saying when it comes to my shop. You're going to need to bleep this out. Nobody cares about your shit like you care about your shit.
True.
So hiring an outside security force to come in and supervise the security at your convention, they're disinterested. They don't really want to be there, and half of the security companies involve people that look at everybody at a convention as just a bunch of freaks. Like,
That's
they
don't
view us all
understand what any of it is.
There's not enough of them.
Yeah, they view us all as a joke,
right? I mean,
real security at an event like San Diego or LA Comic-Con. San Diego got much better this year. The grand staircase was closed. You couldn't. You could go up it and you could take photos, but you still had to go down to the bottom. You still had to go in through the front doors. The lobby is still where most of the photos get taken. The con floor is where most people can walk around. Even there were gaps in the security. I was working a fairly well-known booth, and the model that I made the costume for that year had a dagger. In fact, if you've watched my YouTube channel, you've seen me make the dagger. It's poured resin. I could actually hurt somebody with it if I was really motivated to. And I walked in the door any number of times with 3 or 4 of them in my arms, and nobody stopped me. Nobody checked me. They're knives. They don't look like guns. Walk right out onto the floor and take them to the booth and give them to the girl at the booth. In that same breath, it was harder to get in the building there than it is to get in the building at most conventions. Like Salt Lake Comic-Con, like I forgot my booth forgot my badge at the booth, and managed to walk in the front door and past security 3 times because they're too busy talking about what they had for lunch last night. They didn't pay any attention to me walking by. And I know LA is looking to implement much tighter security, but the perceived notion currently, and I really hope that they turn this around, that they're doing a much better job than LA than Salt Lake or Phoenix. But the perceived notion is that everybody at a door just doesn't want to be there. Like they're just disinterested.
Well, Salt Lake Comic-Con this year was fantastic. It was so optimized. It was so easy to move in and out. They didn't have any issues.
And that's the Comic-Con at the end of the year, not FanX at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was at FanX.
Yeah, no, the Comic-Con. So yeah, it was great. It was good. But you know what? The one thing that kind of really bugs me is that at every one of these conventions, I see the vendor who's selling all of these knives and blades and hidden
Like actual ones.
Actual
They always have
machetes
like
and
sharp
stuff.
batarangs. And
you can just buy it and then walk away. So,
absolutely.
So, I mean, they want the money from that vendor. That vendor, I mean, I'm sorry, vendor. I'm sorry, you probably don't want a spotlight shine on you.
You have cool stuff. I've come very
you
close
have
to
cool
buying
stuff,
some of your things.
and
However,
I know people who work there, but
It is a family-oriented event.
Totally
and
fair.
There's 10 and 13-year-olds, 9, 8. There's kids
People bring
there.
babies to cons.
And you're selling swords.
And pocket knives.
And if they're worried
switchblades.
about safety, stop taking the money from that vendor
Fair.
first before you block the
There
foam
are
weapons.
there are gun and knife shows. Like if you really want to show off those swords, there are gun and knife shows where you
True.
can take actual guns and actual knives.
Or
And
at
not for
least-
nothing, as I sit here and I make that statement, it occurs to me that we're getting more stringent security at a comic convention than most gun and knife shows.
Ah! It's
Like
a whole other conversation.
when I say I have my own experience from Star Wars convention this year, my girlfriend and I went to the Star Wars Celebration this year, and it was a culmination of like 5 years of like, I'm gonna finally go. I'm gonna go. I packed up old Han Solo and young Han Solo and got in my costume and went to Orlando, Florida. And the Orlando Convention Center on day 1 had only 1 point of entry.
Okay.
And they had 25 metal detectors in that 1 point of entry. I assume because they thought that would be enough
For Star Wars Celebration?
to get everyone in the door. We hit a record number of 70,000 attendees. It took me 4.5 hours to get in the door because the convention center,
Yeah.
the entry door is all the way over here, and the line went out the door and around the building twice. Like, I got in line all the way up here and had to wait in line all the way to the back of the building,
To
only
be
to
in the
wait in
line
line
again.
all the way to the front of the building. And when we got inside, 4.5 hours later, they only had 3 metal detectors going, and the guys standing next to them were looking the other way as people are just walking through. No bag checks, no nothing. Just get in the building because the people are getting rowdy. They're getting angry. They don't want to stand outside in the 80, 90-degree heat. God forbid those poor guys in Darth Vader.
Or
You gotta
in
be standing
Stormtroopers,
outside in the
anything,
heat.
honestly.
Oh.
Is there any Star Trek character or Star Wars character that you're not going to
I
die
feel
of
like
heat
Chewbacca's
stroke?
the worst.
Chewbacca?
I don't know.
But even if you're doing like Queen Amidala, you have the huge wig on.
I don't know, all black with black plastic and a black helmet, like just
True.
standing outside like a magnet for misery.
Or Phasma.
Oh, God. Oh. But either way, like by the time we got to the floor, I was joking with my girlfriend, like, well, I guess we could have brought a machine gun in because nobody cared. And they didn't care because they were trying not to piss off the attendees. So as much as security is super important to them, the other side of that coin is that if you make it too stringent, you piss off everybody attending and you still end up dialing it back so people can get inside to get the product that they paid for. So I understand that all of them have a really difficult road to hoe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not sure that banning all prop weapons is the answer. I mean, I feel like, and
Even if they were just going to check everything. I've gone to conventions in my BB-8 costume. I literally have a toy Padme gun that's orange and white. That's like, it's clearly like a child's toy for Halloween costume. And I've gone to cons where they're like, we still have to check it. I'm fine with that.
Well, the argument
I'm
that
100% fine with that.
the argument that I'm hearing of late is that guns could be hidden inside plastic guns or fake guns.
So isn't that the reason you have somebody check it?
You would think,
Like,
During the age
I thought that
of
was the
3D printed
point
guns,
of
though,
that.
I don't understand.
yeah, like if I'm being completely devil's advocate here, in favor of I don't even know in favor of what. I don't even know that devil's advocate is the safest term. If I'm speaking the thing most people don't want to hear. Crazy person A pulls up in their car or their van and gets out in a black outfit with a skull on the front to pretend that they're Punisher, like the dude at Phoenix did, loaded with a couple of actual machine guns. Unless you're blocking traffic 3 or 4 blocks out from the convention, this person walking down the street no longer turns heads because it's a comic convention and that's
true.
a comic character, and he's walking up to a highly populated area with weapons, and there's no weapon check that far out.
That's true.
If we want to be completely transparent, honest, like real about Route 91, that dude didn't have a ticket. He didn't have anything to do with that event. He was in a hotel next door shooting into the event. There's nothing Route 91 did wrong. Nothing at all. Nor would Life is Beautiful have done anything wrong if that dude had been able to get a hotel room downtown at the Ogden.
That's true.
He would have been able to shoot into the Ogden. I'm not advocating that we make no security measure, not at all. But I think that at this point we're making more measures that are perceived security rather than actual security. The idea of security guards that are a block or two out. You don't need a full force. 2 or 3 on the sidewalk to stop and check, stop and talk. We're not talking stop and frisk here, but stop and talk to people that are approaching the conventions, radio contact, be able to keep an eye on what's going on outside the convention. And X-rays or metal detectors. Yes, you can bring in all the plastic guns you want, but if I wave this metal detector over that plastic gun and it beeps, it leaves.
That seems like a fair rule to me.
Like, this to me,
Metal
it feels
weapons
like,
are heavy anyway.
It feels like common sense, but I also get, and I say this in defense of conventions like Phoenix when they banned everything, and LA now that they've banned everything. I get that the standard mother of 2 who has a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old wants to feel like she's safe walking into the convention, and somebody standing over there with Star-Lord blasters could make her feel uncomfortable, so let's just ban everything that looks like a gun. I understand it, and I get it. I just wonder how long that's actually feasible. How long is that plausible for the convention circuit?
I think that mother of 2 that's uncomfortable isn't going to show up anyways.
I was going to say, if that mother of 2 is at a comic convention, she's probably at least somewhat in the scene.
You would hope, but
I mean, I'm sure there are people that go to conventions that they're just like, oh, this is a thing, let's go. But for the most part, when you see people with kids at cons, they're in cosplay with them. Or
that too, and I joked with my girlfriend about this as well. If you hired an actual armed security system, like an armed security force to be there, it would be so expensive.
That's true.
To hire people that knew what they were doing and knew what to look for.
Passes would be so expensive. Who would go?
It would end up going to the customer. Nobody wants to beat the customer up for that kind of money. Like it's an ugly situation all around. At what point do you decide, I'm not going to let the terrorist win? I'm going to go to a convention. I'm going to enjoy myself, and I'm going to take my prop weapon, and nobody's going to get hurt.
But what's going to happen next? Because like you said, the guy didn't have a ticket, so the next guy who does a horrible thing, and they say, well, but we blocked the weapons from the actual ticket holders. So I don't understand. What else can we do? Because you did nothing. That's why.
At the end of the day, I like to remind people that rules are for people who follow rules.
That's true.
Somebody that wants to shoot a bunch of people is already shown they're not interested in following rules because they're
going
going
to
to
figure out a
shoot
way
a
to
bunch
do
of
it.
people. So
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my stance on it, and our stance on it. I guess you you'd say. I'm going to be going out to LA this weekend to drop off some costumes and whatnot. I won't be going to LA Comic Con. I will be going to Club Comic Con because my friend Bernie's throwing it, and he always throws an amazing party. Shout out to Bernie Bregman. He's a great guy. I don't envy LA Comic Con and the road they have ahead because it's going to be difficult. There are going to be people that are salty like I am, and there are going to be people that are happy. And you're going to have to, the pendulum swings both ways all the time. You're sooner or later going to end up in the middle. Hopefully it's a middle that everybody's happy with.
Yep.
And third topic.
It got real serious.
Yeah, let's bring it back up to happy stuff. Which of the four topics do we want to hit on next? We got half of them left.
I mean, you know which one I want to talk about.
Yeah. Cheyenne's hyped.
No, let's do it.
Cheyenne's hyped to talk about that Black Panther.
Wakanda! Yes!
She's super excited about that.
It's going to be the most lit Black History Month ever, you guys.
And for the rest of us, we'll just be like, wow,
I'm
this is
getting
an
real
amazing
brown.
movie.
Yeah,
I'm getting
great.
real black. I am so excited. I mean, I was always excited. I was excited from the minute that Black Panther showed up in the Civil War trailer. Like, that's just a thing.
I was actually mad.
Yeah.
I was mad that it took that long.
Fair. Good point.
Black Panther is one of the founding members of the Avengers. Yeah. I was angry that it took in that long to get to that one, as much as I was angry that it took 3 phases to get to Ant-Man.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Janet Pym named the Avengers, and we still haven't seen.
I was going to say
we still haven't seen the Wasp yet.
We can gripe about Wasp for hours.
I can gripe. But that Black Panther though.
But the newest trailer, it's been something where I have been so excited to see it come together, and because, I mean, it's not that white fans can't like Black Panther. Obviously, that's not the case, but there's always been something that's very intrinsically, very kind of revolutionary about Black Panther. In the comics, it's always been like that. The one time that they told Jack Kirby to put more white people in, they had him fight the Klan. Like, that's always been what Black Panther's about when Black Panther's at its best.
That answer to that.
Right? Right?
Second best answer would be fight the Nazis.
He probably fought some Nazis at some point too. But when they said they were going to do a film, I'm not going to lie, there was a part of me that was worried they were going to shy away from that. There was a part of me that was worried they were going to try and make this the non-threatening, cuddly Black Panther.
Well, right now, the only guys you have are Tolkien white guys.
That's true, but you know what I mean? Like, I was like, they're going to try and make it for somebody in Mississippi who is like threatened by like, you know, like all this powerful African stuff.
Instead of a Wakanda.
Yeah. Like I was worried that it could theoretically go to that place.
They would try to update it in some way and just mess it all up. Yeah,
which, I mean, I don't want for anybody to feel like they can't go see this because they're white. Absolutely not. But like, when the freaking Gil Scott-Heron clip got played in the audio mix for the new trailer, the revolution will not be televised. Because that is throwing the gauntlet down of being like, we are not sugarcoating this. We are not going to try and do this in a way that it's gonna make people comfortable necessarily. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be good and fun, and the fact that it's been so sort of blatantly, proudly that sort of African and that just melanin, it's something that I know I'm probably gonna go and I'm probably gonna cry. Even though it's not the first, like, I don't know, I'm probably gonna cry.
I'm super happy, not just that they've finally gotten around to Black Panther, but it feels to me, at least, like the Iron Man trilogy was finished by the time they really got into the Netflix series.
Yeah.
And it felt, at least to me, like they didn't learn the music lesson of the Netflix series until they did Luke Cage. Like,
Luke Cage was so good.
Jessica Jones did not have a hardcore musical theme to it.
No, that's true.
Neither did either of the Daredevil seasons. But you get to Luke Cage, and now there's not just a hardcore musical soundtrack to it. All of the episodes are named after classic hip hop songs. And then you get into Iron Fist, and all of the, like, every episode has a 90s musical track to it. Like, they're starting to learn that, like, people associate this stuff with a music of that particular era.
Yeah.
When they did the first trailer and they used Run the Jewels, like,
My boyfriend lost his mind. That's one of his favorite bands.
it's so great because they're also political advocate, or they're activists.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
They are social political activists, and they have a positive message. Like, I'm so excited I can barely freaking talk. I was super happy to hear Legend Has It.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just the production design looks fantastic. Can we talk about those costumes? They look so good. They look so amazing. And just sort of them taking all of the sort of Pan-African elements and the way that they fuse them in a way that's the same way that, like, The Lord of the Rings takes a bunch of different European things and puts them together. I really, really love that they've done that with the Black Panther costumes, because it gives it that same kind of, like, mythic weight, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The only other thing that has something similar, and it's totally a completely different type of film, but the only other film that I know that Black people are gonna, like, get hyped about to the same level is Zamunda in Coming to America, which, again, totally different genre, but just that, like, pure, like, African fantasy,
Speaking of which, you know, there's a McDowell's pop-up.
I heard! I'm really mad! I want to go!
McDowell's pop-up on Friday.
Coming to
LA
America
From Coming to America.
is my shit.
You can go have lunch at McDowell's.
I love it so much, and the only way that it could be any better is if they had lunchtime performances by Sexual Chocolate. But call me if you want that
That'd be
idea,
amazing.
everybody.
That would be amazing.
That would be the best.
Here's my baby, Sexual Chocolate.
But, like, that level of, and that's something, that sort of, like, level of, like, super proud, full Black film on a high quality level. I'm not talking about, like, Tyler Perry stuff, because he's we haven't seen since the 90s. Like, I remember being a kid and watching Boomerang and you know, and watching Coming to America, and even, like, something like Harlem Nights, which isn't the best film, but, like, just being able to
cast.
it was an all
really
black
good.
cast. It was to see something like that in that, like, 40s era, you don't see. You know, like, I remember growing up with all that stuff, and especially as someone who is, I'm mixed race technically. I'm 3/4 Black and I'm 1/4 Swiss. So I'm blacker than anything else. I'm just light. But, like, who grew up with that, like, weird ambiguous brown thing. Having that stuff when I was growing up was super important to my understanding of who I was and where I come from, you know? And, like, for there to be a situation where little Black kids today are going to get to see not only that, but an African superhero like that is such a big deal. And it's so important.
Part of the reason that I truly love the MCU right now is that if I were to have a kid in the next 5 years, I'm going to be able to sit them down and let them watch any of the movies in that series, and they're going to find a hero.
Oh, totally.
And their friends are going to be able to come over, and no matter what ethnicity, whatever their friends are going to be able to find a hero. Yeah. And unfortunately, in the DC universe right now, you can't do that. Like, there's a whole...
Ooh, I could go on about that for
a whole lot of white in that, but you're going to be able to... You're going to be able to...
Chewbacca out there.
I'm sorry, guys.
I heard the tapping on the glass. But anyway.
My co-pilot's angry at me that I'm not in uniform.
Yes.
The Black Panther trailer looks amazing, and I've got friends in England right now who have already seen Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, I hate them.
And they said that it ranks in the top 5.
Well, because Taika Waititi's a brilliant filmmaker, so that doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very different film than a lot of what he's done, but he's such a smart filmmaker that doesn't shock me at all. I mean, I just rewatched What We Do in the Shadows the other day. It's so good. Completely different film, I hope. That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would.
What We Do in Valhalla.
What We Do in Valhalla. Oh my God. Oh, please let it be
Tell me you wouldn't watch that.
Please let it be that movie.
Of just Thor and Loki sharing a room, being like, who's going to do the dishes?
I want Loki to be like the dark mustache
Peter.
Peter. I want Loki to be like Peter.
Oh no, he would be like Vladislav then. But still, that would be good.
What is it? What was he? The skewer? Not the impaler.
The poker.
The poker.
The poker.
Loki the poker.
Yeah.
Somebody do that mashup.
Right.
Somebody do that costume mashup. Loki the poker.
Send it to us.
As a comic fan, what I really like what I'm seeing out of Black Panther is just how accurate it feels to the source material.
Oh yeah.
The warrior women, they look amazing.
The
I can't believe
Dormaje.
they look so great.
Right. I want a squad of them at cons from now on.
Oh,
I want
you're not going to get harassed anymore.
every black woman at a con. Like, I will get a bald cap. I will join y'all. Except I want to be Shuri, so not actually. But
instead of like 6 divas from Overwatch.
Yes.
Like,
just a bunch of Dormaje.
or 2 Amazonians from Wonder Woman.
They can be Amazons, and they would get along.
Yeah.
They'd work together perfectly.
The
They'd be like,
saddest-
yeah.
No, I'm saying I've only ever seen 2 Amazonians at
Really?
a convention once.
That's
yeah.
sad.
Somebody did Hippolyta and somebody else did Princess Buttercup.
I was gonna say that's always what I'm gonna.
I
think
can't
of
see her
as
as anything but Buttercup. Even when she's she and her husband are busy ruining America. Like I can't see her as anything but Princess Buttercup.
the saddest thing about the trailer was like one of my coworkers was like, I think Storm was in there. I think they got her. And I was like, no,
dude.
that's his line.
I'm sorry, no.
Sorry.
No, Angela Bassett is not Storm.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've never been somebody who's pro them being together. I've never been that person. I'm like apparently the only black nerd that's like, no, they don't need to be. Well, because the reason they got together was bullshit.
And
They literally only got paired together because they were like, they're the 2 big black superheroes. They should get married. They didn't have any relationship before that. That's stupid.
well,
play
fair,
that
because
all
that's the
kinds of
same reason that
characters,
North Star married what's-his-face. They're
Yeah.
the only 2 gay characters,
Like-
so
like-
clearly we have to have a wedding.
I'm allowed to be slightly annoyed about that, I think.
Fair.
But it's
Once
okay.
they can
I
find
still
2
would.
alcoholic
I
Irish,
mean,
then we can.
I still would absolutely love for Storm to have been in there. But I mean, plus she just
Low-key
doesn't.
cameo.
She just doesn't get any respect anyway. So I would like that. They cast the girl from the
wanna see-
Aaliyah movie to play her now. Like, did anybody see that before they cast her? That sounds really mean. I'm sure she's a lovely person, but
I want to see Thor and Storm throw down. That would be
I love Thororo. That's actually
Thororo.
They dated for a little bit. That was a
What?
thing. I'll see if I can. One of my friends has the issues. I'll see if I can find out what numbers they are. But they dated for a little bit, and the couple name is Thororo.
and it's murder for anyone who happens to live nearby while they're
They're
dating.
actually really cute. They're like, cause he like admires the way that she makes lightning because it's different than his. And they're like on a date, and then Peter Parker barges in, and they're like, "We're on a date. Can you leave us alone, please?" It's cute.
Okay.
That was
It's really
weird.
cute.
Yeah. That,
It makes more sense than her and Black Panther did initially. Initially.
Oh, yeah, right on.
So, what do you guys think about the villain?
Andy Serkis? I
he's
mean,
not,
I don't like
he's
his-
not the villain.
oh, you're right.
Oh, he's not?
Well, because here's the thing. So Andy Serkis is playing the guy who's
Claw.
eventually going to be the Claw.
Well,
who
he
is-
has his claw. And
Does
if
he
you,
have it
If you
already?
pay attention to the commercials, the car chase, the most recent release trailer, during the car chase, the flip, like the one that they
Yeah,
ended,
yeah.
The car flip, that's because Circus is leaning out the window and you can see him, his claw
Man!
opens up and changes and he's got a freaking
I'm going to have to
blaster.
go and double check that. But
Like she doesn't trust me.
I trust you, but I just want to see it now.
He
It sounds
shoots-
cool.
He shoots the car and then
It
Black
sounds
Panther runs
cool.
along the wall because Black Panther, because I don't know.
But like, the Claw eventually becomes like one of the big
He's supposed
Black
to be
Panther
the
villains.
He's supposed
so.
to be the big villain.
Yeah.
So if they're doing the Black Panther like they did Iron Man and Thor and Captain America, there will be 3 of them.
Yep.
And Claw will probably weave his way in and out until he's finally the big bad in the last one.
Yep.
Honestly, I didn't realize it until I was paying attention to, or I was going through with someone. We were talking movies and villains, and we were talking about Spider-Man. And I realized the final villain in all of the superhero stories so far has been like the arch nemesis of the character. Like Tony's arch nemesis has always been the Mandarin, and Kevin Slattery, whatever that was, but it was supposed to be the Mandarin. Thor's arch nemesis is supposed to be Death. Like, I'm not sure that it's supposed to be Hela.
I mean,
it's
Hela's
supposed
the
to be-
goddess of death. So,
It's supposed to be death, like him dying, like the circle of life of Asgard. Who else do we have? Whatever. Oh, the Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know that they have an arch nemesis. I mean, I've read,
That's not really kind of their storylines.
yeah, they're.
but the arch
a little
nemesis
separate.
for Black Panther is definitely Claw. So I'm sure you'll see him weave in
That's
and out
true.
for a while.
I'm sure he'll get away and then come back, and that's true.
Oh, before we leave Marvel, interesting Avengers 4 casting notice as of today. Anybody else notice it? Anybody else hear about
No,
it?
tell me.
Iron Man 3 alumni returns for Avengers 4.
Which one?
The kid. The child from
Oh,
Iron Man 3.
okay.
I can't think of his name now.
Oh.
I'm drawing a complete blank, which is why I've got
The
my
kid
phone
that Tony
out.
Stark spent some time with.
They felt that the banter between Tony and this kid really opened up like the human side of Tony. So he's coming back for Avengers 4.
Okay.
Avengers 4 NALU alum. Of course, Jon Favreau and Gwyneth Paltrow are in it.
Oh, does that mean that Tony and Pepper are going to get back together?
They were back together at the end of Spider-Man. Didn't you notice?
Oh, they were. They
Yep.
totally were.
She just always has these 30 seconds.
I always
Yeah.
forget.
Because I'm sure she's had enough of the crap so far.
I mean, I feel like I would too. That's fair.
So
We'll trust you. We'll trust you.
Yeah.
Okay.
His Google foo
That's
isn't
cool.
strong enough right now. Oh, yep, there it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Kid's name. He's from the Russo. The Russo brothers worked hard on to get this particular character back. Here's a clip of him.
Ty Simpkins.
Ty Simpkins. Harley Keener. That's the kid's name. Harley.
Okay.
So apparently Harley Keener is going to come back, and I'm really hoping that they're going to try to write that into the new Tony Stark as this Ty Keener character who's going to grow up to be
Yeah.
tech genius.
That'd be pretty cool.
And Tony mentored him, apparently better than he mentored Peter Parker,
Yeah.
because whatever.
He doesn't need to mentor Peter Parker, though. So.
Peter Parker's freaking genius. Anyway, the last topic, the last thing I want to hit on before we call it an evening for this week, is just kind of video games. I wanted to start giving you guys, our watchers, sort of a baseline of where we come in on video games, what we care about, what we like, what we probably won't be playing. So when you guys want to start asking us questions about, hey, what do you think about this or what do you think about that, you could kind of aim it at whoever you like. Rich and I are kind of similar in our video game likes, but not terribly.
And I think I'm pretty different from both of you.
And Cheyenne is definitely almost polar opposite. I am very much an RPG player. I spent a couple years testing at 2K. Big shout out to Josh and Dustin, my favorite people from 2K. Summer, I miss you immensely. I spent a long time testing, so video games for me have to have a story I'm interested in. Otherwise, I caught myself with Mass Effect Andromeda recently. I get into a video game and it gets boring, and suddenly I'm testing the architecture. I'm looking for holes in reality. What can I make can I drive the truck into this little itty bitty space it's not supposed to be in? Can I drive over people that I shouldn't be able to drive over? A video game's got to have a really solid story. So Halo's starting to lose me. Mass Effect has officially lost me. I'll finish the game because I'm not so much a completionist, but I want to finish the game. Fallout 4 has absorbed all of my life. I go back to it so often, it's crazy.
I think that's fair.
I have Thief's End. I literally went out and got, my girlfriend and I literally went out and got a PlayStation 4 because we're getting ready for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay.
I'm so psyched for that game. In fact, I'm probably going to try to buy an upscaled port of Red Dead Redemption so I can play through it before next February when the next one comes out. But I kind of live and breathe in RPGs, even when it comes to MMOs. When it comes to MMOs, I have Star Trek Online, and I've had it since before launch. I was one of the
You're in the beta?
I was one of the press folks in the beta, so I didn't have to pay for anything. They just gave me
Ooh.
eternal access to this game. and I have one character, and I will never go back and re-level anything because I've played it all, and I'm not interested in collecting 10 boars again.
10 tribbles.
10 tribbles. Go collect 10 tribbles. Much like World of Warcraft, I have one character in World of Warcraft, and I stopped playing around Mist of Pandaria, and I had a level 80 character, and only one. I don't go back and re-level because it's fun, because I find it boring as crap. Like, I play for the story, and I play one character because I try to role play that character as much as I can. So yeah, Star Citizen is the next big one for me. I'm really waiting for Star Citizen to go VR because I have Oculus.
Of course you do.
Yes. I'm really waiting for that.